This is Daybreak on Trust TV. We'll move straight ahead to reviewing our national dailies. Let's get to see what made it to the front pages of our newspapers. And we'll kickstart with our sister publication, Daily Trust, and the bolder headline states, alleged forgery. UNN never issued me degree certificate, says Minister. That's on page 3 of the Daily Trust. And just above the bolder headline, plot to remove reps minority leader thickens. And that's on page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Experts link 194,876 teachers deficit to poor welfare. That's on page 10 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And Senator Barrow to distribute 20,000 each to 10,000 less privileged persons in Kano. And also by the side, we have 751 local government areas lagging behind in fiscal transparency. That's on page 33 of the Daily Trust. And then we have committee proposes 13 new emirates in Bauchi. That's on page 7 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And then we have gunmen kill 2 wedding guests at FCT. That's on page 28 of the Daily Trust newspaper. The political carnival at Nentawe's mother's burial. That's on page 14 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And lastly, 4,778 die of cholera in 5 years. How we lost them within hours, says families, and why cases are rising, says experts. And that's on pages 5 and 6 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Do well to get yourself a copy and stay informed.
All right, next up, we have the Punch newspaper right in front. Terrorism. Retired generals back calls for state of emergency. That's on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Still on it, ex-military chiefs, state of emergency will speed up anti-insurgency efforts. Only large-scale troop deployment can defeat Boko Haram, says Northern Elders. Bruno dismisses call, says Irabo, entitled to opinion. Still on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. At the top left, we have petrol remains 865 naira per litre amid Dangote's free delivery. That's on page 9 of the Punch. FX inflows push naira to 1,465 naira per dollar. That's on page 23. Nigeria's trade with African countries surges by 610 billion naira. That's on page 9 of the Punch newspaper. Footballers men absent at governor's reunion with Wiki. That's on page 8 if you want more. At the bottom, E1 Lagos, Brazilian team win Lagos electric boat race. That's on page 3 of the Punch. How Oshun Amotekun shot 2 siblings dead, says stepmother. That's on page 3. Gunmen kill 4, shoot teenager near Lagos barracks. That's on 4 and 5. NMA conducts court orders checks on Kanu, submits a report. That's on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. That's all on Punch. Make sure you grab yourself a copy and stay informed.
All right, let's take a look at the Guardian this morning. And the bolder headline says, government may earn 1 trillion naira yearly from capital gains as new tax causes stir. That's on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. And just above the bolder headline, cooking gas scarcity pushes price to 3,000 naira per kilogram. And that's on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Confusion as status quo order pit police against NBA. That's on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. We have Lagos residents lament flash flooding, urge government to enforce planning laws. And that's on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. And just beside the bolder headlines, we have World Teachers' Day, Tinubu, NLC, British Council lament education challenges. And that's on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. Tinubu's botched visit, Oti Kalu trade words ahead of Abia 2027. That's on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. And Brewers kick against tax stamps rollout, one of inflationary impact. And that's on page 18 of the Guardian newspaper. And then we have Cardoso, single-digit inflation remains a medium-term target. That's on page 15 of the Guardian newspaper. And plot to remove Chinda divides House of Representatives, and that's on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Fresh violence, mass displacement test government's grip on security, and that's on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. And lastly, end rascality, vested interest in Nigerians' downstream petroleum industry now, and that's on page 12 of the Guardian newspaper. Do well to get yourself a copy and stay informed.
All right, next up we have a Vanguard newspaper right in front. $92 billion lithium rush leaves Nigerian investors behind. Why domestic investors are not yet there? Oh, there. Muda use their own mines, 100% says miners. Foreign investors should not own mines, 100% says miners. That are leading in lithium mining friendly policies, a governor's essay. No special policy on lithium, says federal government. All those are on page 23 of the Vanguard. Right at the top left, we have up to governors account for 14 trillion naira fuel subsidy savings. That's on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. MEC wins BB Niger. Season 10 gets 150 million. That is on page 6 of the Guardian. Households suffer as cooking gas shortage worsens, rises to 25,000 naira. That's on page 5. We have World Teachers Day. NLC demands living wage for teachers. Federal government honors outstanding teachers and schools. That's on page 9 and 11 of Vanguard newspaper. Fuel scarcity bites harder in Abuja. That is on page 8. 69-year-old Nigerian bikes across 40 countries in 99 days. Harps on mental health of boy child. That's on page 8 of Vanguard newspaper. At the bottom on music, we have Odumodu Black's Industry Machine album out now. That is all we have on the Vanguard newspaper.
All right, joining us to review some of the headlines of the pages this morning is former director news Voice of Nigeria, Ben Shamang. Good morning, Ben Shamang. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. I can see I'm in red with somebody red there.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
All right, let's jump right in. Let's look at the bolder headlines on Daily Trust. Alleged forgery, UNN never issued me degree certificate, says minister. Now, this headline is in line with the report of a 2-year investigation by Premium Times on the Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Uche Inanji, and he has admitted that the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, never issued him a degree certificate, and this issue has been on. So what is your thoughts on this?
Maybe we are on the road to Salisu Buhari, who used to be the Speaker of the House of Representatives in 1999. He presented some Toronto certificates, and they were investigated and found out that they were fake. So he had to quit the seat, and he was arrested, he was tried, he was convicted. It was President Jonathan that gave him some pardon. So if Uche Nnaji is being accused of certificate forgery, the law is there to take its course, and you can see why Nigerians are always clamoring for certificates. Everyone's certificate, as opposed to the job itself. And if the law simply says, look, even if you want to be president, have at least the minimum of school leaving certificate. So why will you want to go faking papers that will land you in trouble? So I think it's kudos to the Premium Times, haven't gone into investigations, and this is what the Freedom of Information Act is all about. Where in doubt, you apply it and invoke it so much to the extent that you unearth irregularities. And we are talking just when the Nigerian government is now saying from this October 6th, it's Operation Show Your Certificates. And those going for NYSC, you have to also show evidence of the project you did to earn to earn your degree certificate or HND. You have to present that copy of the project. And that will clear you before you even go for NYSC. It's a good thing that this is done.
All right, let's look at this headline on Daily Trust. Experts link 194,876 teachers deficit to poor welfare. We know that World Teachers Day was celebrated yesterday, and the lapses and deficits that we have when it comes to teachers, the education sector. So what is your take on this sheer number of deficit of teachers?
Yeah, you see, there is the deficit of teachers in school. In fact, the alarm was sounded also by the First Lady Oluremi Tinubu. And it's not as if Nigeria does not have teachers. There are teachers, qualified ones, roaming the streets, no job. If you go to some schools, one teacher, like almost in the 90s, you have a class teacher that will take the whole subject. Today, it's virtually and almost the same thing in some schools. If you go, you just see that there are just no teachers. You have so many pupils without teachers. And where you have them, they're also not qualified. At the point I had that in Amak here, or some area councils here in Abuja, some people are just given employment letters, go to these areas. You go there, you neither send there as a teacher, no an administrator. You are just simply employed. There are always terms of agreement. What is it that is stated in your letter of employment? So it's a serious thing, and if we don't get it at the primary school level, at the secondary level, is it that we want to get it right at the university level? It is wrong, and it is wrong. And this is also coming when the curriculum of the curricula of primary and secondary school is being reworked. And that's why I saw Senator Sani, Obasani, Shehu Sani, sending a message. He said, Nigerian students are busy becoming content creators as opposed to let's create some substance, science and tech, and Nigerians are just simply going that way. And finally, on this matter, you see that WAEC and NECO are saying that next year, all the examinations are going to be computer based. And so the village people, like people in my village, in Bondon area, in Kagoro area, Katap areas, or you go to Bulunkutu in Maiduguri, are they also in tune? Can they do that? When you don't have the teachers, you don't have
All right, I believe we have just some technical difficulties when it comes to our reviewer, our guest, but still looking at, the pages of our national dailies, this sheer number of deficit that we do have of teachers is quite alarming when you look at it. And aside from that, let's look at this headline on Vanguard, and it says $92 billion lithium rush leaves Nigerian investors behind. When it comes to natural resources in Nigeria, the biggest problem I believe we do have is when it comes to regulations and regularizing everything so that, these minings can go as you're supposed to.
All right, we have Mr.
our
Ben
reviewer
Shaman back. Thank you for joining us back.
Thank you. I think the service providers are not happy that we are talking education. Probably they were not schooled properly.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Shaman.
Yes. So, like I was saying, you see, when you now have computer-based examinations, NECO, JAM, and other examinations to go to tertiary institutions, I think that the villagers will be skimped out, and we see secondary schools that don't even have the computers, no teachers. We're already talking about the shortages of teachers here and there, and so if you don't have the ICTs, how will you conduct these examinations? The villagers will be skimped out, and this is also where we ought to see many of these lawmakers in terms of their constituency projects, their allocations given onto them. They should invest in education, not buying wheelbarrows, not buying motorcycles that are even causing accidents here and there, fractures here and there, compound fractures here and there. They should invest in education, invest in health, invest in agriculture, and I think things will be better.
Let's take a look at this headline. Kidnappers killed 2 wedding guests at FCT. Now, it's been, reported that this happened in Buari Area Council of the Federal Capital Territory, and as well as other communities that border, Niger State. I mean, gunmen suspected to be kidnappers, shot two persons to death. And it happened that, they were coming back from a wedding in Gwagwalada back to the Buhari area camp. So what is your thought on this headline when it comes to the insecurity issues that we're facing on a daily basis in, not just FCT, but Nigeria in a whole?
Yes, because this thing happened between Niger, FCT, we have to situate it properly. You see, the Minister of FCT is busy doing infrastructure. It is good a thing so that when there are attacks, some people can reach those areas quickly. Let me associate that with what happened in Mekapang in Bondon district of Kora local government of Kaduna State. There were attacks the other Sunday, and of course, before soldiers could reach there, it was dark. There was rain, the roads were impassable. So the government should always ensure that roads are also passable so that there could be rescue aspects. And back to FCT, honestly, it's a thing of concern that these attacks are coming on, killings are taking on, kidnapping taking place, and look at what happened to the Arise reporter, Somto, Somi, alias Somi, nice presenter. She was just, it went that way. Remember what happened with some naval officers over some people snatching his phone, and not just that, they killed him thereafter, or some other kidnappings. So in FCT, I think that the cameras should be working. FCT minister should look at that. I can see he's also installing some street lights. Install the street lights, also have some of these cameras. The way some of these cameras could be installed could be enough, very close to public buildings, along the roads, and the police should be there to mount it. When you have night duties, some people should be along the roads monitoring and reporting so that this is curtailed. When criminals know that the cameras are catching them, they are always very, very careful. So apart from technology, we also have the human technology. People should always shout out, like it is said, see something, say something, do something, so that the criminals will always know that the community is not just asleep. There are people awake to catch them.
All right, Mr. Ben Shamang, there's this headline on Daily Trust, and it says 4,778 die of cholera in 5 years. So what is your take on that, and the impact of cholera in our society and the lack of awareness when it comes to prevention?
Yeah, like you said, these are preventable diseases. Cholera happens to be one, and it is a yearly decimal. So when we talk about health, the environment itself, when you have floods here and there, cholera will come. And when the dry season will come, cerebral spinal meningitis will also come on board. So these are things that we always know, government always knows. I think that in terms of awareness can do a lot, because if you prevent it, it's better than curing. Going to lie down in the hospital, importing this and that. And the number is such a thing that it's embarrassing, honestly. The governments, irrespective of them, federal, state, local governments will have to work together with the disease control center. They should always come together. National Council of Health, headed by the minister, all the commissioners of state and councillors for health in all local governments will always have to come together and agree on what you call awareness programs. Then the medicine that will be available, what is it that will be done? Take it to the religious centers, take it to the churches, the mosques, the traditional institutions, to the marketplaces. Don't forget, they're always very dirty, so that all of these things are being controlled. And where you have jam-packed accommodations, you just see that some gutters are just meandering along accommodations here and there. You see the dirt, someone is washing their own, what they don't like from their kitchen is running in front of somebody else's house. And they call it communal living. I think communal living also implies healthy living, and a healthy living is also godliness. So that in as much as we want to be close to God, we should also be clean, and we take care of our environment. We'll live free of these killer diseases.
All right, quickly before we go, let's take a look at this headline. Plot to remove Reps minority leader thickens. You know, the crisis is brewing at the House of Representatives over alleged move by members of opposition political party to remove the House minority leader and person of Kingsley Chinda. What is your thoughts on this?
Well, since the ruling party is always saying that they have the majority, then they should use the power of majority. Except otherwise, within the majority, some people are also pushing the opposition to take the lead, and they will vote behind and remove the speaker. But again, we'll begin to question the rationale behind the impeachment. Is it right at this time? What are the wrongs? Let Nigerians also get to know some of these wrongs the man has committed, because there are times too you also see some of these principal officers, they become a bit overbearing the powers on the people and fellow lawmakers, casting aspersions, looking down on them. Sometimes it's issue of fraud. Sometimes it's an issue like, okay, some largesse were given, it didn't pass through to everybody, and when it passed through, some were given a higher figure, others that never got anything. Quite a lot of things that are happening, and like it's always said, when people are seated around a table, you don't know who is kicking the other under the table. It's only when people begin to squeeze faces, you begin to sense something. So which means something is wrong somewhere, and it is time too that some agencies should also wait in. Is that if it has to do with corruption, where is EFCC? Where is the DSS? We look at all of this holistically and ensure that there is a clean slate, clean ground for lawmaking to go on.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ben Shamang, for helping us review the front
My
pages of our
pleasure. Thank
national
you.
dailies this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now with that, we've come to the end of Daybreak on Trust TV this morning. Make sure you tune in tomorrow morning so you don't miss out on engaging and interesting as well as interactive conversations